With YouTube attacking alternative media, please consider supporting the channel via Patreon for just $1 per month. Link below. What we got here is, there's always been a question, I think, that's been on the mind of a lot of people now for a long time is, are we going to see superhero fatigue? With Marvel releasing 3 films a year and with the acquisition of Fox, whenever that goes through, it's going to up it to like 5 or 6 movies a year. It is. They have so many characters and so many ongoing things. It's like, it just seems to be the best course of action. DC is releasing two to 3 films a year. Well, not next. Oh no, yeah. This year they've got Aquaman, so just the one, and then next year is Shazam and Wonder Woman. So we know that they're releasing their films. Other comic book movies are coming out, somewhat, and it's a question of whether or not we're actually going to start seeing a dying in the box office. Now, people could argue we're getting a bit of that fatigue with the way that DC has been looked at. Well, DC isn't necessarily fatigue. Their problems are just because they're trying too hard and doing a lot of wrong things. So anyway, it says here that no matter which way you cut it, Marvel Studios President Kevin Feige clearly understands superhero movies. And that's a big reason why he's not concerned about this whole myth of superhero fatigue, in which audiences will spontaneously give up watching superhero movies for some reason. Yeah, it's not going to happen. Feige understands how to keep things fresh. He really does. He's not trying to, like, I mean, here's the thing. Like, take Hugh Jackman as Wolverine, for example. Put him next to Robert Downey Jr. Hugh Jackman's been playing the role for 17 years, and he walked away after 17 years of doing it. Now, fans are just like, whoa, 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 now you have an opportunity to come back in, and you have an opportunity to do this next big thing. You should totally do it. And he's like, no, I'm done. But imagine Robert Downey Jr. in the same position. Now, Downey Jr. commands a large paycheck to do these movies, right? Look at the whole battle between Civil War, Kevin Feige, and Ike Perlmutter over Robert Downey Jr.'s supposed $40 million paycheck. Feige knows that if you invest the money in and you can get it, then it will work out well. And Downey Jr. will be able to play the role as long as he wants. But whether or not Disney wants to continuously keep paying him the $40 million, even for a cameo appearance or something, is going to be, up in the air, I think. But I think Feige gets that. Like, right now, capitalize on it right now, and then start to phase him out and bring in other characters. Now, well, with nearly 2 decades of experience working on these kind of films, Feige explained to Vulture that he thinks the versatility of the genre is what has allowed it to survive over the years, even in the face of market saturation, saying that's the reason we make movies we make and the way we make them. For years predating the history of Marvel Studios itself, people asked me about superhero fatigue and if it was a fad or a phase. I say, if they're all different, they're all special. Nobody will get tired of these things before we at Marvel Studios will. Since we live and breathe these things 24 hours a day, you make films like Thor Ragnarok, like Spider-Man Homecoming, like Guardians of the Galaxy, certainly like Black Panther and the upcoming Avengers Infinity War, to keep it interesting and change it up, and we will continue to do that. And that makes sense, because here's the thing too. And I did mention this previously, but just to kind of reiterate the point, when you have these kind of franchises, like you have to, okay, so looking at the MCU as a prime example, you've got the homogenization of the MCU, right? And that was actually a very large point of contention around 2013 with Thor: The Dark World, right? So first Patty Jenkins was brought on to direct. She left over creative differences. They brought in Alan Taylor of Game of Thrones fame to come in and direct, and he wasn't too happy with the creative differences that he had wanted to take the character a different way. Feige wanted it done a certain way. Joss Whedon had the same problem with Avengers Infinity War, or Avengers Age of Ultron 2 years later, about where he wanted to take it and the fights he got into with the studio over it. So we know that Feige has a vision. He has a very homogenized vision for this franchise, and that's one of the reasons why it works. This is just my theory, my opinion, but you ever watch a TV series? Right? You ever watch a TV show and they bring in new directors every single week? Like, look at Breaking Bad, for example. Breaking Bad is one of the best shows ever freaking made, hands down, bar none. But they've had so many different directors come through over the course of those 5 seasons. Yet, even though those directors are different, the show pretty much looks the same, right? It never really feels incredibly different. Like, this never shot in a different way. It doesn't have, it's not done like, very experimental, different visions. It's always kind of a cohesive feeling. Well, they do this in pre-production. They set the tone, they establish it. The directors come in, they kind of interchange, they do their little things, they tweak little things here and there, and that's ultimately about it, right? Kevin Smith talks about this quite a bit when he goes to work on The Flash. You know, he jokes about how he's a horrible director, but he's gone and directed The Flash. He's directed Supergirl multiple times. I think he's actually directing a new episode this week up in Vancouver, BC. But the whole point there is that he goes in there, there's the script, he does what he does, he jumps out. But the cast or the crew and the producers, they have their vision, and that's what they work with, and everyone stays copacetic. That's what I'm talking about here with the homogenization. They shoot all the movies on the same cameras to keep them looking the same. They plot it all out. They make sure everything is in, basically all their ducks are in a row and nothing really feels out of place. That was a big thing a couple years ago that was causing these creative differences with these directors. Now, recently, Feige himself has actually gone and kind of, I think, lightened up a little bit. Look at Taika Waititi for Thor Ragnarok. Thor Ragnarok is a complete departure from the tone set in Thor and the more medieval fantasy take that was Thor: The Dark World. This one was a bright neon color, cosmic look, jokes everywhere, and it played up to Chris Hemsworth's strengths that we previously didn't really know about until Ghostbusters 2016. So if anything, really, that was the only positive thing to come out of Ghostbusters 2016. But as a result of that, right now, in the success of it, because people responded, because it was different. It was the same, but it was different enough to keep audiences engaged. Look at the response to Black Panther. I mean, my God, Black Panther is just nuts right now. I mean, everyone's talking about that as being like the next big thing. It's going to overtake Justice League in terms of money earned and everything else. And that, again, is coming from Ryan Coogler, and he's bringing his own flair to this, while still keeping in line with what Marvel wants, but they gave him the leeway to really kind of bring it to Wakanda because we'd never seen it before. And I think the further we go out, the further that they get away from the established core Avengers lineup and go into more of the cosmic characters, which is what James Gunn is bringing to the table for Guardians of the Galaxy 3 and beyond, then we're going to see a lot more of this experimentation, because at this point, I mean, come on, we're 18 movies into the franchise. People are in it. You know, people are freaking in this thing. They like it. They are sold. I bought my IMAX tickets for Black Panther the other day, man. I'm jazzed. I'm ready to go see it, just as I will be with Avengers Infinity War. And so ultimately, that's what I'm trying to talk about here, is like the superhero fatigue is ultimately going to impact some because of the aforementioned homogenization. And I've seen people's comments about that too. I've seen people bring it up saying, oh, they're all the same, they're all dumb. And Marvel does have its flaws. Villains are a large problem with these movies. But the overall narrative is fun and keeps people coming back for more. And so I feel that the more they keep experimenting slightly with some things would actually work to their benefit, because it keeps it fresh and it keeps it interesting. So yes, I would look at this statement here from Kevin Feige and I would argue that he knows exactly what he's doing. And man, just imagine as soon as the X-Men and Fantastic Four and Deadpool come into the MCU. Oh man, if they keep this going with that and all those extra characters, holy crap, man. Like, it makes me wish I would have invested into Disney at any point in time when I had money, which is never, but still. People who've invested into Disney will make a lot of money because of this man right here.